Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is game time. I have a good friend on tonight. He's in the green room right now, but we'll bring him on in 1 second. I have Mr. Bob Lung. Yes, folks, I have Mr. Bob Lung with the consistency report. He's going to come on and give us an update. All of these players that we drafted in the first, second, third, fourth, whatever round we drafted them in. Now it's time to give them a report card to see if we can pat ourselves on the back or do we need to, oh man, this is where I messed up at. Maybe to give us some advice to kind of help us for next year. Now, if you're 11 and 0, 12 and 0 right now, getting ready to go 12 and 0, heck, it's fine. Just fine. Just bear with it. But if you're 4 and 3, or you're a little bit behind the game, consistency report is for you.
It's about to go down in a minute. Let me touch down. I'ma get it. Cause I been waiting all night. It's game time.
Hey everybody, welcome to Game Time. I'm your humble host, the Fantasy Typhoon, aka the Mentalist, aka your favorite analyst. And yes, we have Mr. Bob Lung coming on 1 second with the consistency report. But remember, Mondays is Hurt or Help. Tuesdays is waivers. I have a special guest. Thursdays is Can You Beat the Coin? I have my good friend Jeff Hasley. He does that show with me every Wednesday. This is for you bettors. We go against the spread and we flip a coin. And we come up with, kind of what you need to do here and there as far as beating the spreads for you gamblers. Thursday, I have the doc is in. That's when the doctor comes on. Various doctors come on, and we go over all the injuries. We get yourselves ready for what I call Freestyle Fridays and fire them up. That's when we have all the injury reports in. The algorithm is done, and it tells me who we should be starting. And that's when we go over the start sets. And then Sunday is when we tweet, who do I bench? We kind of go back over everything, some wind, might be some snow, might be a safety or that's going to shadow. Just new reports that come out that we have to update. Well, maybe we told you this during the week, but on Sunday, game day, yeah, you might want to switch that player out because he's facing these adverse effects. But without further ado, I have my good friend Bob Lung. What's up, Bob? How you doing, my friend?
I'm getting by here. We got a little bit of a hoarse voice problem here from the flu over the weekend. Not COVID. At least I don't think so.
No COVID.
No COVID. We're clean. So if you see me drinking some orange juice while we're going here, got some lozenges. We're going to get through this, but it was a game time decision. But we're here. we're all juiced up, ready to go. So
look, folks, it was a game. It came all the way down. We was planning to go live at 8:00. It came all the way down to 7:59:59. Yeah. He tested it. He tested it out.
Didn't seem to have any problems. Did a extra shot of juice. We're ready to go.
Look, we told Adam Schefter he's a go.
He's a go.
But look, let's get right to it. Now, I told Bob when he comes on, we have to go through these tight ends first. Because these tight ends, man, it looks like you can just pick Mo Alley Cox up off the wire, Trey Burton, Sample, whoever it is, just pick them up off the wire and just plug them in. It seems like we should. If you didn't draft Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, or maybe I don't know if anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few in there, but no, the consistency is not there this year, which is pretty typical of most years. But, it seemed like last year there was a lot of nice depth coming through. We saw Hawkinson, Fant, Ertz was always there. Ingram had a great season until he got hurt. Hunter Henry, all this depth was looking like, okay, this would be the good year that you can wait and pick those guys in rounds 6, 7, and feel comfortable you're going to get a consistent tight end. Not working out as well as we hoped. Like you said, if you pick Kelsey, great, but you had to pick Kelsey in the second round, probably maybe third if you got lucky. He's 89% consistent, certainly first in total points. He is what he is. Darren Waller, 67%. Obviously, had earned another clutch game last night, so he'll go up to 70% for the year. A very solid pick, and certainly was one of my favorites. My two favorites that I was getting a little bit later was Evan Ingram and Hunter Henry. They're in the 65-ish%, which is okay, but not great. But yeah, the rest of them are a mess. Mark Andrews is a mess.
Yes.
Austin Hooper.
Man.
Jack Doyle didn't do much. We thought he might. Tyler Higbee, 25% consistent. He was a top 10 guy. So, I wasn't a big fan of Higbee. So I will premise that. I was like, that consistency was at the end of the year, but McVay, you can't really rely on. So it is a mess. What can I tell you? Maybe go out and, if you can make a trade, maybe you can get a Darren Waller. Maybe you have some excess running backs. You could trade somebody to get a Waller for a solid running back to get somebody through the playoffs. Maybe you could get somebody like that, but all of these are kind of crapshoots at this point. Like I said, you just got to do the best you can with what you got. Find some waiver wires. Look at make sure you look at the fantasy points against and how the teams are ranked. Some teams, may not look like a bad defense on paper, but they're very, very poor linebacking core. Doesn't allow them to cover the tight end very well. So make sure you look at that. Maybe that will help you pick some out as well. But yeah, this year has been tougher than normal. I shouldn't say makes you more like normal. But yeah, definitely, really pay attention. Ask me, ask our boy here, Mr. Typhoon, and we'll get you through.
Look, I got a question for you. For those that don't know, such as myself, Bob, what is considered passable as far as like the percentage rate? Like I know you said 25% for one player, and that was like a negative. So where is that? Where's that percentage?
It depends on the position. I would say just a straight across the board. If you're over 60%, you may be worthy of being a starter in a fantasy league of 12 teams for any position. 70%, you're definitely a starter. Maybe a RB2, wide receiver 3 kind of scenario. 80%, now you're in the ones. 90%, you're super elite. You're the Ezekiel Elliott's, Alvin Kamara's, McCaffrey's, those kind of guys. That's kind of the breakdown. Now, at the tight end position, if you're over 60% right now, you're actually in really good shape. You're pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. But, to earn that clutch game, a tight end has to catch in a PPR scoring, they would have to get 9 points. I'm just rounding it off. 9 points to earn a clutch game. So if they catch, one catch for 5 yards, or 10 yards and a touchdown, you're pretty close. So usually a
Jimmy
touchdown
Graham.
will get you over.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham, exactly. Exactly like that this year. But yeah, that's kind of the cutoff percentages of what you could determine is, startable, good, very good, elite.
Okay. If you don't mind, if I bring up 3 tight ends, can you tell me?
Absolutely.
Good, middling. Give me a red light for don't start. Give me a yellow light for all right, okay. A green light for yes. Fire them up.
Right.
Noah Fant going forward. Noah Fant. How is he doing?
I mean, he's, for this year so far, he's 50%, 14th in total points. Now that's not counting this past weekend. So from that standpoint, he's solid. He's certainly a guy that, Drew Lock seems to like. With Lock being out for a while, that's hurt him. So I would say going forward, he's a start. If you got a better option, fine. But if he's all you got, I think you're going to get. I think you could get some more consistency out of him the rest of the season. The other good thing too is, in Denver, weather's going to get worse. When weather gets worse, quarterbacks seem to scale back their progressions and look for that tight end and that running back a lot more out of the backfield. So I'd see Noah Fant being a very positive move. He's a green light going forward.
Folks, did you catch that nugget? See, this is why they pay Bob the big bucks. This is why he cashed those checks with all the zeros right there. I don't know if you caught it with that little caveat he threw at right at the end. He's entering weather into his consistency report as far as his going forward. And it's beautiful. Playing in Denver, you got that cold weather coming, and that football is hard. It's cold. Ground's hard and cold. The offensive line are having trouble. What's the quarterback wants to do? Get rid of that ball, get that hot route. Let me hit Fant right on one of these crossing routes. Let me do a rollout. Let me hit Fant. So, wow, good observation there. Good observation there, Bob. I got another one for you. Got another one. I'm going to catch you here. Let's see if you're ready. Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert. Well, he just came back. Didn't look terrible. I mean, obviously Richard Rodgers caught the touchdown. I was watching that game because it was against my Browns. I'm a Cleveland, Ohio area guy. So I was watching that game, and Rodgers was wide open on that play. Nobody's even paying attention.
Nobody was around.
Nobody's paid attention to him. So, that's the kind of thing. You can't go, oh, Richard Rodgers is outscoring Dallas Goedert. Yeah, he did. But here's the other thing. Pouring down rain the whole time. Cold, wet, like you said, the weather had a lot of effect on this game. It was, that's why Nick Chubb did so well. That's why the running game did so well for Cleveland. That's why they won. Carson Wentz was struggling a little bit with the rain and the slippery ball. So, yeah, it's one of those things where if you can get Goddard because you can tell people, geez, look, Richard Rodgers is outperforming him, go do it. Go steal him away from somebody before it's too late. Because at some point they'll get back in that rhythm, and Goddard will be right back up there as a very consistent and positive player for you going forward.
Well, the reason why I asked that was for me. That was my question. I have Noah Fant and Goddard going forward. I've been
lucky you. They even have two worth of crap on your team. I don't have too many of those.
I've been willing to move both and a couple of firsts for Travis Kelce in my dynasty league, and I can't get it.
They won't dynasty, you think people might just because unless they're in the running for the playoffs. If they were out of it, man, I would be like, here, take it, because he's going to be out. He's got a couple more years left.
That's what I'm thinking, Bob. I mean, he's hanging on by a lifeline. Looks like he won't make the playoffs.
Right.
And I lost a game.
Wow.
I just lost a game in that league, so I'm ready. And I really don't want to go. Because if I have to, I'll go with Goddard and then Fant as the backup.
Right.
If I have to, going down the road, but I won't Travis Kelce. But it doesn't look like that's happening. Last one on these tight ends, and we'll wrap this one up. Robert Tonyan. Is he fool's gold? I think he's fool's gold. But I mean,
here's the thing. I don't think he's going to be consistent. He had his little stretch there. I think he's a very talented guy. I think, certainly Aaron Rodgers likes to have a solid tight end that he can rely on. And he kind of reminds me of Richard Rodgers of old. If you remember when Richard Rodgers was with the Packers, that's pretty much how it kind of would happen. Remember Richard Rodgers, the guy that always caught the Hail Marys in the end zone half the time. So I see Tonyan as this guy that, one game he might have 3 or 4, then he might have 12. I don't think he's going to have a high ceiling. He's not going to have a super low floor, but I don't know. If you can get something a little bit more reliable, I'd probably go with that. But, again, I mean, Tonyan hasn't been too bad. He did okay this past week. I think he's up to 50% for the year. That's no different than Noah Fant and some of these other guys. So, he's not terrible. That's for sure.
Yeah, but he has to have that touchdown.
Yeah, he does.
He doesn't catch that touchdown. It's
right
down the crap.
The only way I think he would be real beneficial would be like if they were going against a team that had some super tough cornerbacks that might be a little bit harder on, somebody like Devontae Adams and MVS, where they're kind of shutting those guys down. That opens up the middle of the field. Maybe Tonyan could have a better game against a team like that, but there isn't too many teams like that can shut down Devontae Adams. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they would have shut him down by now, right? I mean,
You would think.
If the
Hasn't happened yet.
if the blueprint was out there, it would have been out there by now. He's been doing this for years, so
Yeah.
he's been the top wide receiver for years. But we'll get to him. I know he's on the consistent report.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll get to him in 1 second. Matter of fact,
All right.
we'll elevate over to him next. But I have one more I just thought about.
Okay.
Can you give me just a percentage, or you? Of course, you can break down. But I'm curious, what is the percentage on Hawks?
On Hawkinson?
Yes. What is his? I'm just
89%.
curious.
Yeah, he's
He's
89%.
89% consistency.
Yeah, he's tied with Kelsey for first place.
Oh,
Now, granted,
snap.
he scored about 60 points less. But again, Kelsey
10 points is that threshold, is what you're saying. It's
yeah, because
right?
every week he's getting at least 9 points. So that means 8 out of the 9 games he scored at least 9 points. Now, that doesn't mean he scored more points than Kelsey, but consistency-wise, he's there for you every week, getting you the probably 10 points a week. And that's what you want. If you can get that out of your tight end from any position, I don't care, or from any time spot you draft somebody, if they're earning the consistency at a tight end spot, it's well worth it. So, yeah, Hawkinson's been very solid. But, let's also remember Galladay's been hurt half the year. Marvin Jones has been average. They don't really have a third wide receiver. Amendola's hurt, if he's even, if not walking dead anyway. So Hawkinson's really become the number 3 receiver. Stafford, got that bad thumb. So it certainly has been a recipe for success for Hawkinson, maybe not the rest of the offense.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right, folks, that's been the tight ends. We're going to wrap those tight ends up, and we're just going to how about we just work our way from bottom up? We'll go from tight ends to wide receivers, running backs, and then finish up with quarterbacks.
Works for me.
We'll go up the roster instead of coming down. Now, look, one thing you've been gold as far as your consistency report with me. If folks, I just want to let you know let me give you a personal testimony from myself right quick. Like I was telling Bob in the green room, when I saw his work come down my timeline, I'm like, whoa. And this was like last year. I've been wanting to reach out to him, but I never really just had a chance. I just got the nerve to say, you know what, let me just approach him.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
So and he's, like I said, you never know in this fantasy game. We are all pretty much friends. We just don't know it yet. We might seem like we might dislike each other on Twitter at or social media at times. But at the end of the day, we all know how hard this job is. We all know
we're doing it for the love. We're not doing it for the money. We're doing it for the love.
We're doing it for the love. Right. What other reason would I be on here missing the game? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I love watching the film. But anyway, Bob's work came down my timeline and I clicked on it. And I've been hooked ever since. And I've been looking at it, and he's changed the view of the way I look at my roster in redraft and fantasy. Because now I know when I need to fire somebody or when I need to trade someone.
Right.
Prime example, the 10 points for your tight end is pretty much the threshold that you want to see. If he's getting 9 or maybe 16, you kind of know, all right, this guy, I can keep this guy. He's serviceable. He's going to do what I need him to do going forward. Right. Now, if he's hitting me with a 3, he's hitting me with a 4, then he might hit a 16, then he give me 4. Another 4 or 5.
Jimmy
All
Graham.
right, I got to get rid of this guy.
There's your Jimmy Graham right there.
Oh, that was Jimmy Graham?
Right, yeah. It's up here, down here. And so he's 8th in total points, but he's 40% consistent. Not going to help you.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So usually I would kind of hold those guys.
Right.
Now let me go a little deeper. Now, in my running back 2 is pretty much 15 to 20%. You guys, that's your little window you got to hit. Mm-hmm. And then my RB1 is 20 to 25. That's where you need to be. You need to be right in there. Wide receiver 1 is about 25. Is where you need to be. Wide receiver 2 is about that 15 to 20. And so now when I'm looking at my roster, I add up my points before I even play. My quarterback should give me 30. RB1 should give me 25. RB2 should give me about 20. Wide receiver 1 about 25. Wide receiver 2 about 20, tight end 10, and my defense should give me 10. So at the end of the day, I look at my roster because I look at my points because I already have each position and I know which position needs to do what. So if I go over my threshold, I go back and look, okay, who outperformed? Because sometimes your wide receiver 1 will underperform and your wide receiver 2 will overperform,
Right.
but you will still reach that consistency for the week.
Right.
So that's why you got to go back and recheck it. And that tells you who is underperforming, who you need to get rid of. Okay, now I need me a new wide receiver 1. And when you do that, now that tells you what player you need to trade for, because you need a wide receiver 1. No need of taking your 1 and then going to get a wide receiver 2. You see what I'm saying? It clears consistency. Believe it or not, folks, clears the whole thing up. It clears that cloud up. Because now you know what you're doing. You know what you need. You know what you need to take your resources and stack them up, and then you know what you need to go get to keep your roster consistency. And man, I'm so glad to have you on, Bob. I'm so glad to have you on.
Appreciate
it. Let me give you a round of applause. But yeah, I just want to share that personal testimony with everybody out there following Bob. Now, once we were talking about Devontae Adams, then I'm pretty sure he was top on the consistency report. Let's go ahead and talk about some of those wide receivers, Bob.
All right.
What you got on the consistency?
Well, like you said, Devontae Adams first in total points through last week. Not this past weekend. Again, numbers will update tomorrow.
Hold on. May I interrupt?
Sure.
What is the percentage for consistency as far as point total for that wide receiver? What is your
so to earn a clutch game, which is what you earn, and then clutch games divided by games played is your consistency rating. So a clutch game for in a PPR scoring format for wide receiver is around 11 points, which is also the same for running backs. They're both around 10.5 to 11. So, which is why PPR exists, so that running backs and wide receivers will be very similar in their model and similar in their value. So, when we talk about 89% consistency or 86% consistency for like Devontae Adams, that means 6 out of the 7 games he's played, he's earned a clutch game, which means he's earned more than 11 points. Now, as we know, he's earned a lot more than 11 points a lot of times, but that's all he has to get over to get that. And you would think for most of these guys, this would be very easy. And it is for some, and it is not for others. There's guys like, DJ Chark and Tyler Lockett, 6 in total points heading into this past weekend, but yet his consistency rating was only 56% because he's gotten 35 and then he's getting, 9, and he's getting 32 and he's getting 6. So, you think every receiver, every top receiver should be, above 70% consistent. Many of them are, not all of them are though. And that's where this model comes into play. And that's when, if you go to the website and you look at the consistency report on the website, you can see this information, put in your own scoring method that you have for your league. And then it shows you how consistent the players are in your scoring method in your league. So it makes it very user-friendly for that as well. But as you said, top guys, believe it or not, heading into this past weekend, Stephon Diggs, 90% first in consistency. Tyreek Hill, 89%. Terry McLaurin at 89%, which when you realize the quarterbacks that this boy has had.
I know, right?
And he's still this good. This is a guy you need to draft every year moving forward. I mean, this guy is he is the new DeAndre Hopkins before Deshaun Watson showed up in Houston. It seemed like every year Hopkins like, oh, here's these garbage quarterbacks. Doesn't matter. D-Hop's still 100%, 90% consistent. And I tell you what, Terry McLaurin's becoming the same guy. Definitely, has proven a lot to me this year that it wasn't just a one-year wonder for him last year. This kid is talented. So there's some of your top guys right there.
What about now Tyreek Hill? I know has he always been at the upper top, or did he kind of creep into it? Because I know I own him, so I've seen him catch fire. Yeah, his last four games, and then they went on by, and he's been on fire.
No, I mean, ever since Mahomes showed up, Tyreek Hill is always above 85%, 90% consistent. Between Mahomes and Andy Reid getting him the ball with end arounds and pitch tosses and bubble screens and anything they can get him into space, that's Tyreek Hill gold. So yeah, he's always been consistent ever since Mahomes came into town. Even a little bit before then, he wasn't bad, but Mahomes has certainly made a big difference.
I have a guy, a wide receiver, that I want to talk to you about, and I'm
Sure.
pretty sure he's controversial. Amari Cooper.
Ooh,
Amari Cooper.
man,
What's up with Cooper?
So we have graciously nicknamed him the fantasy locust
The locust.
because when he gets on your team, he just eats it alive and destroys.
Because you got to start him.
You got to, but his consistency until this past year, actually this year, it's one of his best. He's actually at 78%. But prior to this year, his best season was only 63% consistency. He would be top 12 in total points, but he was never consistent. And that's why we jokingly called him the fantasy locust, because he just was eating your team alive.
You mind if I use that?
No, it wasn't mine. It was Tommy Moe. If you find Tommy Moe on Twitter, you probably know who I'm talking about. Tommy Moe came up with it. So if you ever do it, hashtag fantasy locust and tag Tommy Moe. If you need it, I'll give it to you. But he's the guy that came up with it. So we always back and forth that one.
The fantasy locust. Oh my God, I love it. I love it because that's exactly what he is.
Yeah,
you have to start him, and when you do, but you know what? I started looking at those splits. I never really took those splits seriously until Amari Cooper and Big Ben. All right, Big Ben's away. I gotta sit you down, Ben.
Yeah, right.
Amari Cooper's away. I gotta sit you down, Amari. But like you said, not this year, really. This year, you can pretty much, even with Andy Dalton, you can still kind of drop him in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a 14-point day.
It was solid. Yeah. So like I said, Andy being there helps a lot. That's for sure.
Without a touchdown, without it, so he's not really touchdown dependent.
Right.
Will Fuller. That's another one. What is he? The fantasy local?
he's a fantasy mash unit. We said this has to be 2020. Why? Because Will Fuller has played 9 consecutive games and hasn't gotten hurt.
Hasn't gotten hurt yet.
Yet everybody else in the entire league has been injured.
Is hurt. Yes.
Every stud is off your team. I don't have my top 4 picks in many drafts. So Will Fuller has been healthy every freaking game.
Will Fuller has dodged
2020.
He has dodged COVID. He has dodged soft tissue injuries.
Everything.
And on top of that, he's been consistent as far as scoring touchdowns.
He has. Like I said, you can tell this is, if this is.
Oh my God!
I'm going to look in the Book of Revelation, but I'm pretty sure if Will Fuller plays 16 straight games, the end of the year.
That's funny. Oh my, that's funny. Oh my, I own Fuller, and believe it or not, Bob, I have been Look, I wanted to run Kalen Ballage in there over. I've been finding a reason not to start him every week, but I haven't. I've been starting them every week so far. I throw them out there and be like, "Oh God, is this the week?
You're doing well.
Is this the week? Is this the week?" And I throw them out there.
Yeah.
And boom, next thing you know, I close my eyes and I look up. Oh, it's 20 points. Look at Will.
And he's still healthy. That's the key. That's what I keep waiting for. They've taken him off the field and he's done for the year.
You keep waiting for Adam Shaker. When you're watching the game, Adam, he's on the cart. Oh my God.
There we go. There it is. We knew it was going to end.
Yeah, we knew it was coming. But to be honest with you, if it happened now, he's worth his weight in gold thus far.
Yeah, he's certainly been worth it to this point.
He's already done it. He's already done it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been firing Will Fuller up. But
good for you.
Another one I want to talk to you about. Let's talk about some of these rookies. Justin Jefferson, is that sustainable, or you don't do that, do you? You don't worry about sustainable. You just worrying about consistency, right?
Well, I mean, it's one and the same. So in the consistency guide, and you can see the article on the website as well. I do a thing every year called Rookies versus Consistency, showing what it takes for a rookie to be worthwhile to a fantasy team in their initial season. And basically, as I mentioned before, you got to be over 60% consistent to really be worthy of being on a starting roster in a fantasy league. For most rookies, That's only happened 8% of the time in the last 10 years. So 92% of the time, rookies do not earn over 60% consistency in their first year. So that's why I'm always like, I don't hate rookies, but they better be in the right spot with the right situation, the right coach, the right scheme before they probably will be productive. Now, this year, as you mentioned, these guys have all been pretty good. CeeDee Lamb, 67%. Trying to think some of the other guys.
Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins.
Yeah. So Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, those kind of guys. T. Higgins, 67%. Now, Justin Jefferson is up to 50%. So he's getting there, but he had a slower start. He really didn't click.
Oh, yeah.
Kirk Cousins,
okay.
But now that Thielen is on fire and his teams try to stop Thielen, then that means Jefferson gets the ball more. So I think it's going to be a little bit more inconsistency. I think, you give the kid a couple years, if, like your dynasty league, you're certainly going to see this kid benefit down the road. But yeah, CeeDee Lamb, these guys are walking in being very talented and also being very adaptable to the offenses. So CeeDee Lamb, like you said, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Justin Jefferson, all these guys are looking like they can, it certainly more and more of these receivers. Plus, of course, this was one of the best receiving classes probably in a long time. Yeah. But it just shows you that these kids, if they come out of the right school, the right systems, they can be very productive in the right team. So it all has to come together. They can't just walk onto any team and be a stud, but they certainly can be if everything kind of all lines up properly. So yeah, these kids are all good and certainly worth drafting down the road, in your dynasty leagues or even your redrafts next year.
See, that's why I like talking to folks smarter than me, folks. That's how you learn something. I just learned something from you. I don't even know if you even taught it. I don't even know if you even realized what you just said, how powerful that was. Because now let's go back and look at these rookies again. Let's pull the microscope up a little bit more. Let's magnify.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Justin Jefferson starting opposite Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is the one. He's the one getting the coverage. Justin Jefferson is coming up underneath. He's running the post. He's running the corners. He's running those comebacks. You can see his route tree starting to elevate, right?
Right.
So you see his fantasy points starting to be consistent. But the main point, what you just said, is what I'm piggybacking off of, is he has a 1.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2. Look at Higgins, Tyler Boyd. He's the number 1. He's the one that's out there. He's the one that's getting the coverage. He's the one the defenses are really trying to stop. Next thing you know, T. Higgins pops open. He's down the middle for a long run. He's down the middle for an out route. He's running those out routes in pretty much 9 routes. He's not really coming from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down yet. He's running your more higher routes, your 6, 7, 8, and 9. So he's in that category. But the main point, once again, is he has Boyd. So now that opens him up. Look at CeeDee Lamb. Here we go again. Amari Cooper is that number 1. He's the one those defenses are game planning for. He's going to get Stephon Gilmore. He's going to get the Jalen Ramseys. They want to stop Amari Cooper. Next thing you know, here comes CeeDee Lamb open, ready to run. So you see the current theme of these wide receivers. So now I'm going to start looking at that a lot more, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
When these wide receivers come in, they're playing that Robin role. That's where they can. That's where they can blossom. It's been proven.
Right.
It's been proven.
No question.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jeudy. Where is he in this? Oh, Jerry Jeudy and Brandon Ayuk. Oh, yes, Brandon Ayuk.
So Ayuk is at 63%. So he's been doing
really?
Well. Yeah.
Ayuk is 63.
Yeah.
So his price just went up in my dynasty league. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Now I own him.
Jeudy hasn't been as good. He's at 33%. But got to remember, Drew Lock's been missed about 4 or 5 games. So that certainly has an effect on it when you going between quarterbacks and you don't have your main starter in there. So, and let's be honest, I guess they do have Cortland Sutton. But again, I think when you're missing your quarterback for 4 or 5 games like they have with Drew Lock, that's going to affect Jeudy. I think Jeudy certainly has that potential down the road, and it might be one of those guys you trade for now in a dynasty league, thinking that, he's obviously not very good. You might as well just trade him to me.
So yeah, trade him to me. I'll take him, right?
Exactly.
I'll take him off your hands too.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Is there anything you want to add in on these wide receivers as we transition over to the running back?
No, I mean, the only thing I just wanted to say is, this is the position that you can, if you want to wait later in drafts and take, flyers on guys later. Here's the thing. Most people who don't read my guide and don't follow the consistency concept don't know this information for these guys you can find later in your draft who are consistent, have proven consistency, but they're not the high-end guys. Like a perfect example, who was number 34th in total points and 35th in consistency last year?
34th.
34th. So he's a wide receiver 3 in both total points and consistency last year.
A wide receiver 3.
I guarantee you could pick for a long time, and I bet you won't get it.
Hold on, I'm pretty good at these. Hold on,
All
me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
I'll give you a clue. He's actually in the top 20 in consistency this year.
John Brown.
You're on the right team. Cole Beasley.
I'm close. I'm close.
You're on the right team. Last year, Cole Beasley was top 36, both consistency and total points. Now, I didn't tell people to go out and make him your wide receiver 3 pick, but I told people, hey, if you're picking your number 5, 6 wide receiver on your team, grab Beasley because Josh Allen loves this kid. He is Josh Brown. He is Josh Allen's Julian Edelman. When he needs the clutch play, when he needs a 3rd down and 7, he's going to Beasley because Beasley knows how to work with Allen and getting open. So he's 70% consistent this year. He's ahead of Tyler Boyd, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Chris Godwin, all of these guys in consistency heading into this past weekend. So that's the kind of stuff you look for, and we can help you identify those so that if you load up on, Kelsey's and and running backs and that kind of stuff early, we can help you find those consistent wide receivers that can get you where you need to be on a weekly basis as you head into your season. So definitely one of the things I always want to promote when it comes to wide receivers.
Look, folks, don't forget, if you're watching now, at Bob_Lung, Mr. Bob Lung, at Bob_Lung. If you're not following, if you're not reading the consistency report, you are wrong. You are behind. Make sure you get in there and get it. Look, he does the hard work behind the scenes, folks. I'm telling you. I am telling you. At Bob_Lung. Now, let's move on to some of these running backs.
All right.
I got one I want to talk about off the top. Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I have him in a lot of leagues too. Coming into this year, one of the only running backs to be 90% consistent for 3 straight seasons. Not going to make it this year. Basically, once Dak went down, the rest of the team has went down, and Zeke has been one of those go with it. Now they've had some offensive line issues, same problems, but yeah, Zeke just hasn't been Zeke. He did run a little bit better this past week, looked a little bit better. I think he scored about 14, 15 points. And that's good. Good to see him get back to normal, but certainly has not been the stud that, that we all expected him to be. So hopefully he kind of gets his act back together and gets back to that 15-20 range. We'll see. But yeah, it's been a tough year for him. And never thought, missing Dak would make that much, but it has, especially when your backup quarterback is Andy Dalton.
Yeah, they've moved the guard and tackles around a little bit.
Yeah,
so that kind of helped them out as well.
Right.
Making those minor tweaks to that offensive line does help.
Sure.
Chris Carson, I know he's hurt, but he has surprised me this year.
Chris Carson has always been very consistent. He's been one of my favorite players the last few years when a lot of people were kind of like, oh, he's okay. And then he had a fumble issues. But when he runs, he is a beast. He is like the old Marshawn Lynch, man. He just beats on people when he hits the line. But because of that, it also beats on him. So it's been tough for him. But yeah, I mean, he's one of those players that I think he's going to wear down quickly over time. Dynasty leagues, if you can get something for him, it may be time to move on. But because they do love to run the ball in Seattle, but he just runs so rugged, so rough. It's great when he's getting the yards, but boy, it also beats up his body.
Yeah, his contract year for him too.
Yeah.
So they got Rashad Penny sitting right there waiting to take the mantle. I don't know if he's that bruiser.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's the answer. I mean, they also picked up Carlos Hyde, who's been running well in his absence. And he's not as old as you think. I mean, he's up there, but he's not. They got DJ Dallas that they drafted. He may be, a talented kid. So we'll see. But any running back in Seattle is always worthwhile because Pete Carroll's going to run the ball.
Yeah, that's just a consistency spot, right? That's
it is. It's a good point. Yeah,
a consistency scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I meant to say. Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders looked like he was going to be the end all and be the great player this year. Again, injuries has been rough. I mean, heading into this past weekend, he was 83%, which is great. But the problem is he only played 6 games. He had he played against Cleveland. It was a good day for for running backs and the weather. It's just a question of the problem is Carson Wentz just looked so bad. Teams are now starting to say, okay, well, we'll just focus on stopping Sanders and we'll let Wentz try to beat us. And he's just not looked good. I mean, if you saw the interception he threw right to the Browns linebacker or whatever it was, Tacky.
Took it to the house.
Yeah, he just literally lobbed it in the air, here, catch.
Yeah, and that was a matter of fact, it was a screen pass to Sanders.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Yeah, and it was just what are you thinking? I mean, did you not even see that guy?
Did you see that?
It's everybody that wasn't in the stand saw it.
And then that other one in the red zone that he threw, was it Riga or Fulgham? One of them over in the corner. He just floated it up there and came in. I don't know what's wrong.
I don't know either. It's his first season he wasn't too bad. He's been worse ever since.
I could do a whole show on wins. I think it's not one thing because a GM once told me it's never one thing.
Right.
But he is the main thing. But it's not just him.
Right. Yeah.
But let's see who else I want to talk about. I'll talk about Fournette hasn't done enough to talk about.
But Ronald Jones has.
Yeah, let's talk about old Rojo.
Okay, so Rojo was one of my favorites going into the season.
Oh, I was just grabbing him.
Oh, I have
round,
every team.
6th, 7th, and 8th round. I got him everywhere.
Yeah, so you and I are on the same page. I had him on every team, and I had Fournette. The problem was, and I was excited because I'm like, these guys are going to rock it. Fournette's in his contract year. He wants out of Jacksonville. They want him out of Jacksonville. He'll run crazy, get big money, go somewhere else. Jones is going to be great for Tampa, but no, they have to trade Fournette and screw everything up for a while. But as you've seen, Rojo has proven he is the man. He's certainly been running well. His consistency hasn't been that great. That's been the problem. But it's because they keep mixing it up. Hey, let's run Fournette a little bit. So that's really been the issue. I think, again, if you're in a dynasty league, if you can go get Rojo now and kind of, make it hey, look, he's only 40% consistent. They don't know what they're doing in Tampa. They might, give some kind of story. And then keep Rojo in Tampa. That's going to be a good spot for him. He certainly runs the ball well. He's got to work on his pass catching, but he still runs the ball really well, really hits the holes well. Good patience, too, behind the line. So really like this kid.
Yeah, I like him, too. I actually had him on the show as well. So I had a chance to sit
down. You had Rojo on the show?
Yeah, I had a good chance to sit down and talk to old Rojo.
Oh,
talk to him like you and I behind the green room. Talk to him, man, about 2-3 hours, man. I told him, I said, look, you are going to be a 1,000-yard running back this year. So
nice.
Let's see what happens. Aaron Jones, man. Let's do Aaron Jones, and you can kind of finish it up with Will he get that contract, or will he be on the move?
I mean,
With your
he's
consistency report.
done everything he's needed to do. I mean, you know, last year he had a lot of all those touchdowns, second in total points. A lot of people were like, "Can he redo it? Can he do it?" It was like, no, he's probably not going to get the touchdowns. But I just didn't know if they were going to continue this whole, you know, interacting with Jamal Williams. Well, obviously, you know, Matt LaFleur finally got smart and said, "Hey, guess what? Aaron Jones is the best player." And so this year, you know, seventh in total points, 100% consistent every week. He has been the man. I got to believe they got to pay him. He's certainly what they need there. Aaron Rodgers only has a few years left. If they're in a win now mode, they got to keep Jones. I don't think, you know, Corey Dillon is not the answer, or whatever his name is. AJ Dillon.
AJ,
Dillon.
yeah.
I went old school. You know, Jamal Williams is a good third down back, but Aaron Jones is the man. They got to pay him.
So they got to pay up, huh?
They do.
All right, before we move, show me the money. Before we move on, how about these rookies? Can you just throw out some rookies consistency reports?
Well, obviously CEH is exactly who everybody thought he was going to be, which is, you know, again, you know, as I mentioned earlier, you go to the right team, it's kind of hard not to be that. If you're that good, and then you go to the team that can make, you know, that has all this talent around you, like Edwards-Helaire had in Kansas City, it's hard not to be good. But he's, you know, he's proven it. He certainly could have not been as good. You know, he had another good week this past week. He's 89% consistent, 14th in total points. As long as he stays healthy and they don't mix in Le'Veon Bell too much, which I don't think they will. I think he's there just in case. You know, I think he'll continue to do well. You know, the rest of the rookies really haven't had much opportunity. You know, some guys have been floating in and out. But I just think that, you know, a lot of these guys need some time. DeAndre Swift's probably been, outside of Hilaire, probably the best looking back. But then he had concussion protocol. So, you know, he's been, you know, a little bit, but he's certainly been very good and certainly has proven his worth. You know, I was kind of worried because I'm like, I thought Johnson wasn't too bad there, or Keyshawn Johnson wasn't too bad, but it certainly wasn't working out for him. So DeAndre Swift's been good. You know, Antonio Gibson's been solid. You know, Jonathan Taylor looked like.
Yeah, what's up with Jonathan Taylor?
I don't know. It looked like he was going to be the end all. You know, he was going to be the man, the new future star. But he just hasn't put it together. I mean, I was watching the last game that was on, I think it was Monday night or Sunday Night Football, when Taylor tried to get in the end zone 2 or 3 times, couldn't get in. They brought in Nyheim Hines and he
just went right in.
He scored the touchdown. It's like, you know, maybe it is a rookie thing that you just not is, you know, just
can't
don't have
see
the
it.
vision. You don't have the vision or the speed at NFL level. But I'm sure this kid will be fine. You know, he was very talented. You know, Nyheim Hines he's an Austin Eckler type. You know, he's a good third down back and make, you know, people miss. But he can also run the ball pretty well when he gets some holes. I think they'll be a great 1-2 combination. It's just going to take some time for Taylor, but I think they all have the potential to be there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to wide receivers. We almost approaching that 1 hour. So
quarterbacks.
Yeah, let's hit these quarterbacks, man. Let's wrap it up. Let's see. Who do I want to talk about? Quarterback. Now, Dak was probably the most consistent until what happened.
He was doing very well. He was perfectly consistent until that injury. He was having another great season. I had him in a number of leagues. Oh, I was so disappointed because I had a couple of my super flex 2 quarterback leagues. I had Mahomes rolling through those leagues, and then boom, there goes Prescott, and I was down to pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that's how it happens sometimes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the injuries have just been brutal to me this year. Not been a 2020 has a lot of reasons not to remember. Fantasy season is going to be one of those.
So just scratch it. Let's do it again, right? Redo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can only be so consistent if they're healthy.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see who I want to talk about. Well, I know Patrick Mahomes has been consistent. No need to talk about him.
No. I mean, here's your top guys. Murray's the only perfect. He was 9 for 9. Russell Wilson is 89%, Mahomes 89%, Rodgers 89%. Now, the surprising is who is at 88%, and he's at fifth overall in consistency. You
Herbert.
want to guess? Herbert.
Yep,
Justin Herbert, the rookie. You don't see this happen too often, but this kid has walked right in there.
That dude,
and
bro,
he's just balling out there, man. It's been good. I mean, and I was worried because I'm a big Keenan Allen fan, and I was worried about his consistency with who was supposed to be who was our quarterback briefly, Tyrod Taylor, and I was like, well, we'll see. And then Eckler goes down. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. And then Herbert has made Keenan Allen just as valuable as he was when Phillip Rivers was there. So it's been great.
Yeah, you got saved by the Herbert there.
He did.
Yeah, buddy. What they tell him, like 10 minutes before game time. All right, you up, buddy? What? Huh?
Yeah,
I gotta play.
He's good. Yeah, it's good.
Man, that dude.
Outside of that, though, the rest of the quarterbacks have not been very consistent this year. Almost as bad as the tight ends. We've had these years in the past. It's been a while. Again, I'm going to write it off to all the injuries. I mean, it's hard for a quarterback to be very consistent. I mean, look at Tom Brady. How many times has he actually had Evans and Godwin and all these guys on the field at the same time? And so it's very difficult to get into your rhythm when you're missing your number 1, 2, maybe 3 quarterback or running back or wide receivers on a weekly basis. So, Breeze, Matt Ryan, Prescott, we know Brady, even Josh Allen. Josh Allen started out 5 for 5. He's now 6 for 10 because all of a sudden, John Brown got hurt, and then the weather, and teams obviously starting to figure things out. So it's been a tough year for quarterbacks as well. Very little consistency outside of maybe the top 5 guys. Even guys like Deshaun Watson, and like I said,
I was going to say, where's Deshaun Watson at consistent?
Well, he's up to 70% now, which is, again, solid. Nothing wrong with that. But, you expect more from him when you're going to pick him as as a top 5 quarterback. But, he certainly has improved greatly ever since he got rid of Bill O'Brien. I think that was the biggest problem heading into was just the play calling and O'Brien and the whole situation. So I think, he's definitely the guy that's going to move forward and keep your fantasy teams consistent. I wouldn't worry too much about Watson at this point.
Okay. Watson. Man, I just had a senior moment. I had a guy I wanted to ask you about, and I was just going to ask you about, and this little thing popped up and just took my attention there. But
how about the guy that was the number 1 pick for most
Oh,
teams?
I know. It just came back. Came back.
Go ahead.
From last year to this year, what kind of drop-off has Lamar Jackson had in consistency?
That was the guy I was bringing up. Yeah, it's dropped off drastically. Last year, he was perfectly consistent. I don't think he played week 17, so it's whatever. He was perfect. This year, only 40%, 44%.
Wow, he's at 40?
He's under 50%. Now, this past week, he got back up, so now he's 50%. But still, for a guy that some people were drafting ahead of Mahomes, round 2, 3 at the latest.
Yeah, I saw that too.
This is killing a lot of people. I wasn't sold that he was going to repeat. So most of the time, if I really wanted a quarterback, I was always picking Mahomes. Good for me. But, but like I certainly had him in some leagues. I have him in a couple dynasty leagues. I was very excited to have him in dynasty leagues. Like, I got this guy forever. He's going to be a stud. And then he's like, he's barely helping my team.
Right? What do I do?
Well, I think it's just been a combination of the offense just hasn't been clicking. The running game hasn't been clicking. I don't know if it's the offensive line, if teams just haven't figured out. I mean, let's be honest. This is what happens with some of these guys, the Robert Griffins, the Michael Vicks. Once team figures out what they can and can't do, if they have a weakness, teams will find it. And I assume they must be finding his weakness because he's just not putting up the points. And, Baltimore's defense isn't helping. They're not doing much to, keep them in games. So it's been a struggle for him. And, we'll just have to wait and see if they make some adjustments later on the season. I mean, if you can make it to the playoffs with him as your quarterback, you're golden. Like here, I love the schedule for his for 14, 15, and 16. Browns, Jaguars, Giants. That's his 3 games. So if you can get to the playoffs with Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, Dust off the shelf, kids. You're getting a trophy.
Fire them up. Fire them up. But all right, let's talk about this one, and then we'll go to some rookies, and then we'll wrap it up. Bob.
All right.
Kyler Murray.
Been everything you want him to be this year. I mean, you know,
he's this year's Lamar Jackson, right?
The only thing I will say is that Lamar Jackson, like Mahomes did 2 years ago, just blew the competition away. Like he was 150 points ahead of everybody else. Kyler Murray's not doing that, but that doesn't matter because, you know, if you drafted him, you probably drafted him maybe in your 6th, 7th round, maybe 5th round. I mean, you didn't have to reach for him.
No, you didn't. And he's coming
so
through.
That's a good thing. I mean, so he's not setting the world on fire, but he is 100% consistent, you know, and you know, the only guy that's probably been better that you could have drafted much, much later is Aaron Rodgers. But, you know, I wasn't even sold on Aaron Rodgers. He was so bad the last couple of years. We thought he was all dead. They drafted Jordan Love. Is he even going to play? Is he going to, you know, maybe we should all just been smart enough to go, he's going to have a burr up his butt. Maybe we should get him. So he goes out there and get that chips on his shoulder. He goes out there and sets the world on fire. We can all be a part of it. But I didn't think that was going to happen. I figured out Father Time had got to him.
I thought Father Time had got to him, and I thought he was a little bit, you know, well, I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly.
But all right, let's go over some rookies. Let's go over some rookies here, and then we'll wrap it up.
I mean, you know, Tua, you know, he had a nice start. He had that nice game against Arizona, but then last week it was terrible, and they ended up benching him and putting Ryan Fitzpatrick back in. So see where that goes. I mean, I thought Joe Burrow was having a really nice season. And sadly, the ACL, you know, gets done, and that's got to be heartbreaking for a kid with just so much talent, so much heart, really cares. That's going to hurt not just him, but Cincinnati's offense, the Tyler Boyds, the T Higgins, those kind of things. Now you're back down to Ryan Finley. That could be troublesome. So there's a lot there, but I think both those kids have great talent and certainly have a strong future ahead of them. That's for sure.
All right, folks. We're wrapping it up here at Consistency Report. Trying to get you some information out just in case you need to make that trade. Trying to help you win your trophy. Trying to help you kind of do a shift of your vantage point as far as how you're looking at these positions. Don't look at the player. Look at the position as points. And is that player holding up to his? Is the player holding up to his worth? Is he being consistent enough to stay on your roster? That's pretty much what this is all about.
And also, you know, another thing too is don't always look for the guy who is the top 5 player of the week. You know, one of the things I always kind of preach about, and I'll do it here as well, is where people make mistakes is that they see somebody that jumps into the top 5, and I can't think of what off top, like Richard Rodgers will say this past week. He scores a touchdown. He'll probably have 12 points. He could be near the top of the list. People will be like, "Oh, I gotta go get Richard Rodgers. I need a tight end." But the problem is that those are those 1 week wonders that are going to kill you. What you want to look for go to the consistency report on Big Guy Fantasy Sports. Look at some of the, you can click on the details of a player and you can see how consistent they've been maybe over the past 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe they've, had 3 straight clutch games. Maybe they've, been over whatever that point total is, 9, 11, whatever it is. And look for consistency, recent consistency that you might be able to grab off the waiver wire or make a quick trade for that somebody may not realize because they got them sitting on their bench and they're not starting because, they're only getting 12 points a week and those might be the kind of guys you can go get. Those flying under the radar consistency players, those are the great ones to go find, especially this time of year when it's late in the season. People may not be thinking much about them.
I tell you what, though, even though, I use the algorithms, I use my film study, and I use all my little secret sauce to come up with my own little cheat sheets and get ready for preparation for my draft. Right. I tell you what, I am not entering another draft year without the consistency report. I'm dead serious.
Well, the guide will be out May 1st, and it'll be updated all summer. And, It'll be there. The site will always be there to show you how consistent the players are. And again, you can put in your scoring method for your league. So if you have if you're PPR, non-PPR, half, whatever the case may be, put those numbers in. It recalculates everything for you. Even change if you have a 10-team league or 14-team league. It also shows you that information and adjusts the numbers for you as well. So all that's there on Big Guy Fantasy Sports. Love to have you all come and check it out. And like you said, hit me up on Twitter at Bob_Lung. Be more than happy to get you into the playoffs and get you a trophy.
Look, I was just getting ready to ask you to go ahead and put what you got in the oven and where they can find you at, and then we'll wrap it up. So I guess I'll give you one more shot. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell the folks what you're doing, and then we'll wrap this one up. But I do want to say this, folks. I forgot this was Thanksgiving week. I forgot all about it. I've been asking guests to come on. They're like, Typhoon, I'm coming on, but it's Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh my God, it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So let me tell you guys, you watching this show tonight. This is the pre-screen. We will do the replay tomorrow. So this show will be on Tuesday night at 8:00. This is the pre-record. Now, Bob,
there we go.
Go ahead and let folks know where can they find you at on Twitter, and then what you got going on and all that.
Everybody out there, be safe this Thanksgiving. I know this is going to be a weird one. You may not be able to spend with every family member you can, but count the blessings that you have. And if you're safe and healthy, those are two big blessings for everybody right now. So make sure everybody stays that way. But again, thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to just be a part of it. And man, you do a great job. I love the intros. I love all the cool cut scenes. It's great. Find me at Twitter at Bob_Lung. The website is bigguyfantasysports.com. Lots of stuff there. Waiver wire ads, prop bet stuff, DFS, you name it, all based on consistency. We got all the tools to help you out. So again, thanks for having me.
All right. That's been Bob Lung. This has been the Consistent Report, the update, trying to get it out for you guys right before your trade deadlines, trying to help you make those reports. So now that you and your fantasy teams can stay consistent. This is Game Time. I'm your humble host of Fantasy Typhoon, and we gone.